Hello, everybody. We are back. I mean, I guess for them, we haven't really left. I have to remember that.
Yeah.
For them, it's been just perfectly fine.
Every 2 weeks. We record the day before.
Yeah. First off, Casey's here.
Hello.
We're a little bit unhinged. I'm not going to say the episode number because the episode that I just posted, it is not accurate. It is not accurate.
Yeah, we can't count very well on this show.
No. You know what? We want to make sure that the very good content is themed appropriately for our audience. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes that means that even though we've established we record right before we post it, we might have recorded out of order for some reason.
Yeah.
That's my story and I'm sticking to it. Anyway, it's post-Thanksgiving, pre-Christmas. Let's see, people will still hear this before Christmas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it'll be the run up to Christmas. So that's great. How was your Thanksgiving?
Very good. Lots of food, you know.
Lots of food.
It's the whole point of the holiday.
Yeah, and I appreciated lots of food. So
yeah, I guess I am thankful for things.
Sure. Look, I'm thankful for being able to eat lots of food.
Exactly.
Ultimately.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ultimately, I'm thankful for being able to eat lots of food. I saw friends of the show, Karen and Melissa, for Thanksgiving.
Nice.
We had a very nice time. There's a lot of talk about the Hallmark Channel.
Yeah.
Because it's the hotness right now.
That is their thing.
Yeah, Karen especially.
Yeah.
Loves it. So
I think both of them still have cable specifically for Hallmark.
Hallmark, yeah, they were all about it. I'm going to be honest. I don't watch Hallmark very much.
Shocking.
So I've missed out on some very interesting programming.
Yeah.
I hear all the rage is of course, there's the Kelsey and Taylor Swift Kansas City Chiefs kind of story that they're, I think it's called the Kansas City, I don't remember, but a Chiefs touchdown love or something like that.
Yeah.
Which apparently got huge, massive ratings, I hear. Like it was a big winner for Hallmark. But the one that we were talking about was Hot Frosty.
That's a Netflix one, too.
That's a Netflix one. Ah, ha, ha. Yeah. So.
That one, I've seen that one, too. It's quite a movie.
Yeah.
It's a good time.
Yeah.
And it's got Ted from Schitt's Creek in it.
Yes. Yes. And that was the topic of conversation, is how surprised everyone was that was Ted from Schitt's Creek.
He does look pretty different from how he used to look, but...
Yeah. All right, but that's not what we're here to talk about, but it is what we were here to talk about. Because even though, obviously, we see each other like clockwork every 2 weeks, it's been...
A minute.
A minute since I've seen you, so... but we are talking about what we decided to do was listen to albums for 2024, which was a fun experiment. Like, it was cool to do that, because I've never really done that on purpose before.
Yeah, me either. I just, with all the music that came out this year, I thought that it would be cool to go back and listen to all of the 2024 music as like a end of the year wrap up for us.
Yeah.
And then, I also have not really listened to just entire albums in I don't know how long.
Yeah,
because I don't buy albums anymore. Nope. There's no buying CDs like there used to be. And so I would just always hear the songs I wanted to hear, and actually going through and listening start to finish it was a good time.
Yeah, I mean, it reminds me of back, like, that's what you used to do. Like, my favorite music in the 90s were all based off of albums, you know. Mm-hmm. If I was lucky, I'd have made a mixtape at some point.
Yeah.
But probably unlikely. It was probably I was just playing a whole album and enjoying it. So this was really interesting. Now, I made the mistake. I'm going to call it a mistake. That's unfair. No, it's not unfair. I made a mistake of going off of the Rolling Stones' albums of the year list.
Oh.
So when I told my friends I was doing this and I was doing Rolling Stones, they were like, well, Rolling Stones sucks. So apparently everybody has an opinion that Rolling Stones doesn't got it. I didn't realize that. And so I went into it thinking all these albums were going to be very good. Mm-hmm. That's not the case.
Yeah.
All of these albums were not very good.
Yeah.
So I'll talk about those at the end. Mostly because I want people to go and listen to them, because I want somebody else's opinion. One of the albums was so bad I had to reach out to my friends and ask them to listen to it too, so I could find out if it was just me or not.
Is that the one that you told me about?
I'm sure it is.
Okay.
'Cause that's the worst set of music I may have ever heard.
I meant to go listen to it and then forgot.
Yeah.
I think that some people, critics especially, like to pick bad things just to say that I'm better than you. Yes. I can understand it more than you.
Yeah, and I think that's what happened here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what happened here. But we'll talk about it at the end. I want to just start right off the top. What was your favorite thing that you listened to in 2024 stuff?
I can't actually say that there's a favorite because there's so many that I like so much.
What's the first one that comes to your head then?
I guess the two that pop up the most are Glass Animals,
right?
Because their album was fantastic, and then Rainbow Kitten Surprise,
right? Because
their album was also fantastic, and I've been listening to it often. But we also saw them live this year, and their live show was impeccable. Phenomenal. It was so good,
phenomenal.
It was a great show, and I will always go back and see them live any chance I get because it was so good.
Yeah. And I didn't know anything about them when we went to go listen to them. I'd never heard a song.
Yeah.
And so it blew my mind.
Yeah.
So those two are albums that we both did listen to prepare for this. So Glass Album's Animal.
Glass Album's Animal.
Glass Animal's album. I Love You So Effing Much. Great album. Just, it was solid all the way around.
Yeah. Every song, everything's pretty good. Obviously, I have my favorites out of them, but not just because it was the ones that were playing on the radio and coming up on my Pandora and everything, Spotify, that made me go listen to it. Yep. And then all the other songs that are on there, there's a few that I'm like, man, this is a good song.
Yeah. The one that I noted, the one that really made me note is What the Hell is Happening?
Me too.
Yeah. That was wow.
So good.
That was so cool.
And then at the end where it's took me by surprise.
Yes.
That's
and
so
that
good.
Was just great. It was fun and smart, and it's the kind of album that you feel like, that's going to be really hard to explain, but it's the kind of album that you feel like, and the same with Rainbow Kitten Surprise, the Love Hate Music Box. It's the kind of album that you feel like there's a couple different, I think, levels of album. The Glass Animals album felt like an album that was like, look, we want to make stuff so you can enjoy it. Mm-hmm. It's not just about the process of making music, even though obviously you make music that you enjoy, but that was an album that felt like, no, you're going to sit down and listen to this, and it's just going to be an experience. It's just going to be a wraparound, nice time, right? Where Rainbow Kitten Surprises was more emotional and much more a journey. That's a journey music, but also fun. And the fact that it's journey music made it hit a little bit different, because it really feels like they really talk about the actual human experience a lot, which is phenomenal. And it also gets some bonus points because of the live album, the live experience. Just it reminds me, I think of it, and I'm like, oh yeah, that was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, that's great. So those are really great ones. My two that I will say that were kind of the first two that I think about when I did this is Billie Eilish's Hit Me Hard and Soft. Mm-hmm. Mostly because, I don't know if in the long term I'd close my eyes and say it was a great album, but it was one of the easiest to listen to albums. I just sat down, it just drifted over my head. It was obviously heartfelt. It was a kind of like a diary of music. You're talking about, I forget how young she is.
She is very young.
She's very young, and so it's just talking about that experience and being in Hollywood and sexuality and all of that. Just a diary that just felt like somebody kind of talking about what life is like in a way that I can't understand, but this is the best way to try to understand somebody's perspective. Mm-hmm. That Billie Eilish album, so I like that. And then also Tyler the Creator's Chromacopia album. The one thing I really liked about it, the one thing my note with it is it felt like what Kanye used to sound like. When Kanye was good, that's the kind of experience he had. He did different things. Lyrics were super tight and interesting. He talked to people. He talked about different things. He had his mom do narration in different parts.
Oh, interesting.
Which was really cool, and it was a textured album. It had a story from the first song all the way down. But it gave me that feel of like really smart hip hop that I used to love. And I never listened to Tyler, the Creator, before.
Yeah.
It was really just random that I decided to listen to it because everybody loved it. So I was like, oh, I guess I should give it a try. And I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. I meant to go listen to it and then forgot.
Listen, there's so much music to listen to.
I know, there really is.
Yeah, there's so much. And so much like when we were talking about doing this, we almost had recorded this earlier. And in the space, Kendrick just decided, hey, I'm going to drop Gen X. I was like, oh, great. Well, we get to listen to that too.
Yeah.
What did you think of that album?
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
The first, like, as soon as I started playing it, that first song, so good. And then it's just, the whole rest of it is just a trip.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, Mustard.
And then, of course, Mustard, which, of course, is hot in the streets.
Yeah.
But you get to enjoy it. You get to laugh along with it.
Yeah. It was cool to hear it because I saw something about it coming out.
Right.
And I listened to the album that morning, or I guess it was technically the day after it came out, because I hadn't really heard much. And then I put it on as I was walking the dogs. Mm-hmm. And then that afternoon I was scrolling TikTok and everybody was going, Mustard!
Yeah, the Mustard was the hottest thing. Yeah.
It was cool to have heard it before I actually saw the trends with it.
Yeah, I did not. I saw the trends first. But I didn't even think twice about it because I always, like, for him, like, obviously not like us, like, that just was a trend before, you know, I would have sat down and listened to anything. But the one thing that the trends did for me to appreciate this album is I was under the impression that the album was going to be a lot more like the trends.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. It was a very varied, like, one of the things I like is there was a lot of songs that sounded like old school hip hop. Like, you had the soul of older hip hop. There was really some thoughtful parts in it that I really enjoyed. Like, I like bullshit hip hop. I like stupid rap, but I also really appreciate, like, thoughtful, like, even if it's not a perspective that I can respect, I like the fact that somebody's going out there and rap and hip hop is such a good medium to tell a story that intertwines either through an album or through a song, life growing up, experiences, and a lot of times experiences being black is as part of it, which I appreciate that culture, black culture, gets dragged along sometimes through hip hop and rap, and for good and for bad, you know, and that was really like a ball of that. Like, it was compressed. Like, he is, I hate to see that, but he is the moment when it comes to this stuff still.
Yeah.
And everybody has all the big stars have their time of being the moment, and who knows how long it'll last.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was the moment, and he came out on fire. It was really good.
It was really good. Speaking of like throwback type hip hop stuff, did you listen to LL Cool J's album?
I did listen to LL Cool J's album.
Because his had a lot of 90s feel to it, which was interesting.
Which, I mean, that's what he is.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that that's what he did.
Yeah.
Like, he came with it more than I expected him to. I thought he was going to kind of lean into nostalgia a lot.
Yeah.
But he didn't, in that he was still skillful. Like, he still has it. He still has rap chops. I mean, he's just not, I think you could say on a rap level, he's a step down from the echelon. He's like just under. And maybe that's unfair. He's been doing it for such a long time. But then I listened to the Shark's Fin song that he's in, and it just makes me laugh. He was so pop culture. Maybe it's hard to put his place in. It's like Snoop. Like, Snoop is obviously an all-time great, and he's a great rapper, but he's not a great rapper. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, because there's some people who are just so great.
Yeah.
Tupac, Biggie, etc.
Exactly.
Always going to go down in history. And Snoop's right there beside them going down in history, but not necessarily as being great at the rap portion so much as other
expertise.
Yeah.
As an entertainer, Snoop might be the best. The fact that he's been doing it like this for this long into everything. I don't know anybody. There's been any rapper, and there may never be a rapper that's as level entertainer as he is.
Right.
Which makes him one of the all-time greats, right? And LL Cool J took a rap career and turned it into a movie career, you know, like Ludacris. I think those two are on the same level. Ludacris has a bunch of hits, but he's also a very good rapper. I'd say he's maybe a better rapper than LL Cool J is, but he turned that into pop culture cash, and so he's always going to be around because he was the soundtrack of periods of time. You know? So good for him. If you'd have told me any time after 2010 that LL Cool J was going to release another album, I'd be surprised.
Right.
like I thought he was pretty much done. Okay. What do you have an album that you were surprised that you liked?
Yes, Sabrina Carpenter's album. I enjoyed a lot more than I expected to, because it was unfairly, I would always just not listen to her songs very much when it popped up on the radio. Like I would see it and kind of listen to it a little bit and then change the station. Or just not pay enough attention. And I decided to listen to it because she was so big this year. And it was quite good. So I even re-listened to it a couple of times because I was like, this is just a fun time.
Yes. I listened to some, but I tried not to do this very often, but there was just so much music to listen to. I listened to like 3 songs and I went, okay, I know what this is.
Yeah.
Like, okay, we're good. Like nothing wrong with it, but I'm like, I got it. You know?
There's a few that I think everything that I wanted to listen to, I did.
Right.
But there's a couple that I did not finish because I was listening while working.
Right.
And then somebody would interrupt me at my desk. So I still have to go back and finish like Post Malone's album.
Right. Yeah. It was. I tried not to do that too much, but I would be listening while I was trying to, edit another podcast or like just doing other things. And it was just like we talk about Taylor Swift's album. We'll talk about it. Like I had Taylor Swift's album kind of on while I was in the car or whatever, and not in a place where I could listen to it focused.
Yeah.
Which also, I mean, that was going to kind of happen when, like. To me, sort of like Sabrina Carpenter, when I listen to Taylor Swift, I think this is nice.
Yeah.
But nothing about it is like, pay attention to me.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, I have a hard time even differentiating different versions of Taylor's music. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you could play 4 random Taylor songs. It could be over a 10-year period, and I wouldn't be able to tell you that, even though I know that there's been growth and change and whatever, just because it's just a flow of music to me. Even though I wanted to give it that kind of attention.
Yeah.
But it just happens.
Yeah. I think with her album too, the first time you hear it, you don't really hear it.
Right.
Hers is one that kind of has to grow and build for you.
Sure.
And a lot of people don't want to give it that much of a chance, which is fair enough.
Sure.
If it doesn't hit the first time, why are you going to give it a second chance?
Sure.
But I did enjoy her album though. But I generally am a Taylor Swift fan, so I'm going to enjoy anything that she puts out.
Absolutely. Which it's nice to be able to say that, right? Because, for example, I listened to Kings of Leon's album, Can We Please Have Fun? And I generally like Kings of Leon, and that album bummed me out. Wasn't any, like, it was just, it's not even that it lacked adventure. I don't need an artist to be adventurous. Like, if you want to do what makes you popular for 3 albums and people buy it, great.
Yeah.
But they didn't even want to do what made them popular. They wanted to do a lighter version of what made them popular.
Interesting.
It was already like, it was like commercial music. It like really bummed me out. Like that was the first album that I listened to that I was like, maybe I can't listen to all of these albums on this list because I might have a bad time. Because just before that, I'd listened to Jack White's No Name, which was a very funky album. Like he's obviously skilled. Like he's obviously got something to him, but he just doesn't do anything for me. It was like, okay, I know that there's people that this hits for, but it didn't do it for me. So that was just like, okay, maybe I'm getting into too many songs that hits for. And then after that, I listened to the album that we'll talk about at the end. It was just terrible. Like I'm overselling this, but I'm not. Like, I really need people, like, even if I know you and I know you're not going to listen to it, I'm going to make you listen to this album because I need more people to listen to it because I need opinions because it was so bad.
Yeah.
But anyway, you liked Taylor Swift's album. Where do you kind of, I know this is hard to say, but where do you kind of rank that in your list of Taylor Swift?
Oh, of Taylor Swift stuff?
Yeah, of Taylor Swift stuff.
Oh, I'm not sure.
Okay.
Because, Folklore's still my favorite album. And then the others, it's hard to say.
Okay.
It's definitely not like in the top 3.
Right.
But
so
I didn't.
That second tier,
yeah,
maybe?
I enjoyed it. There's some very sad songs in it, which I love sad music. Mm-hmm. So
do I.
Is something that I appreciated about it. But it also is quite sad knowing some of the things that
they're attached to that.
Because some of it was so public for her that you just happen to hear about it, and then you hear these songs and it's like, oh Lord.
Yeah. I understand. Did you listen to any country?
Country artists, no. Country albums, technically, yes.
Right, those count.
Yeah, so I did listen to Cowboy Carter, Beyonce.
Yep.
And then I forgot the name of Post Malone's album.
I did too. I don't know why I don't have it written down, but Post Malone's album.
Both of them, I thought, did a really good job for genre switching the way that they did for different reasons. So Post Malone's was clearly a country album.
Yes.
Like, he has a full country vibe. There's nothing of his other music.
Nope. He just went
really
all
in
out.
there. Yeah. Just sent it full.
Yeah.
All the way.
And good for him. He's very talented.
Yeah. And then Beyonce's, it is a country album, but you still feel the R&B vibes, the gospel vibes.
Right.
Like, it's a very intertwined mesh hybrid of genres, which I think was interesting.
Yes, I agree. Like, as I was telling you before the show, I talked to my brother and his friend, and we were talking about it, and they, who I feel confident I can say, I wouldn't say they're huge Beyonce. I always call her Bianca, and so I'm trying to make sure I don't do that. Let's pause that. Beyonce fans, I wouldn't say they're huge Beyonce fans. I think they just her in the culture and just that she's kind of overlaid upon, she's in the Taylor Swift level where it's just they're kind of a force of nature. There's kind of a person, Cher, Madonna, Beyonce, like that level.
They're just so big.
Yeah, they're almost bigger than music, almost.
Yeah.
And so I think they fair or unfair, thought maybe she'd do a Post Malone. And I think what's flattering to her is that they feel like if she decided to make a full country album, she could do it and it would be good.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, yeah, but she didn't have to. Like, the fact that she, like you mentioned to me, the fact that she adeptly merged those genres is a testament in and of itself.
Yeah. And especially because country itself is a genre that's really niche.
Yes.
Because, country artists almost never cross to the pop platform.
Right.
And then likewise, but, R&B gets on the pop charts all the time.
Right.
There's never been an R&B to country. Like, there's never been that mesh. That's always been very separated.
Usually keep it pretty separated. Or you have a gimmicky song or two that kind of sneaks in there. Yeah.
But to be able to actually combine them and have people on both sides of that fence liking that same music, like that, that is a feat.
Yep, I agree. I think that's impressive. I listened specifically to 3 country albums of country artists' country albums. I listened to Zach Bryan, The Great American Bar Scene, and I didn't know what to expect because I'm sure I've heard a Zach Bryan song. I think his voice is familiar, but I don't know. It was really good. I liked it way more than I expected because it's very bluegrassy, and I don't know if I've said this on the podcast. I probably have. Bluegrass is my favorite kind of like folk country music. I really like the bluegrass.
Okay.
So I like a kind of a banjo picky, like a good singer over kind of a quick banjo-y pickup. And this had a lot of that. He also did a song with Bruce Springsteen called Sandpaper, which I really liked. And it's a song that I wasn't going to expect. I was just like, what does Bruce Springsteen have left? And he did something on the song and that you were like, oh, that's Bruce Springsteen's voice. But it was just good. It was good. And it was, it was as close to rock country as you're going to get from Springsteen, who Springsteen's already kind of country rock, I guess. Excuse me. Yeah, it was good. Like if you're a country fan and you haven't listened to it, you're probably gonna like it. If you're like me and you like very specific versions of country, and this fits your wheelhouse, I think you'll like it. I was really shocked about how good it was. And then two that I'll just mention quick. I listened to Jelly Roll's "Beautifully Broken" on recommendation. It was good. Like had a really good energy to it. And I listened to Benson Boone's "Beautiful Things," which was beautiful. It was maybe more country than I'd listen to regularly.
Yeah.
But it was beautiful. Both of them were good experiences. I had positive experiences of it. And I realized that I don't dislike country. I never thought I disliked country, but I don't necessarily go out of my way to look for it.
Sure.
But those were good experiences, which is really a nice thing. Just the couple of these things are really nice reason that we did this, and why I was glad that I at least started with the Rolling Stones thing to listen to a few things I wouldn't have touched.
Yeah.
And that was really a good part of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any other albums notable that you want to talk about that you're thinking about? You should talk about the rock album that we were talking about where we were having dinner.
Oh, yeah. So I listened to Wage War's album, Stigma, I think is the name of it. And I was surprisingly delighted by that album. I knew that I would like it because I had heard, it is Stigma. I had heard a couple of their songs on the radio, and that's why I started listening. Because I was like, oh yeah, I do like that one song. Let's give this a chance to have something on the rock side of things. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it was good. I really enjoyed what they put out because it reminded me of a lot of stuff that I liked back in like the 2000s.
Right.
I also listened to Knocked Loose's album, which they're a good bit heavier.
Sure.
And they're known for being pretty heavy. They actually recently got in trouble because they played live on Jimmy Kimmel.
Yes,
and people
the whole
did not
Jimmy
like
Kimmel
that
thing. Oh my God.
And I liked their the stuff of theirs that I've heard on the radio before. So I was like, oh, let's listen to them. Yeah. I think I will just stick to their radio stuff.
Sure.
But
sure.
It was a good experience.
All right. Yeah. Did you listen to anything that you disliked? Anything that you were just like, I don't think it's waste of time because I think you mostly gave yourself an opportunity to like what you were listening to?
Yeah, I went through and because I actively thought of artists that I generally liked anyway, or genres that I generally liked, and just looked at who put out albums.
Right.
So there wasn't anything that I just did not enjoy.
Right.
I listened to Joyner Lucas's album.
Okay.
I enjoyed that one a lot. And his was one that I was listening to it while multitasking, doing dishes or something. And a couple of his songs I had to just stop and listen to because I was like, oh, shit.
That's nice.
That's some stuff being said in this song.
That's nice.
So,
yeah, that's a good experience. I like that. Of the other random albums I listened to that I'll mention, I listened to an album by an artist called A Chow, which I believe is French. It's like an electronica rap thing. It was super unique. I didn't dislike it. I'll probably listen to it again because it also feels like a kind of music that you got to listen to a couple of times to get it. Also, I listened to a Spanish rapper a Spanish hip hop artist named Young Miko. Album was called ATT, and I didn't understand a word. Well, I understood some words because I have elementary school Spanish, but not enough to be able to put it together. But it was super groovy. It had really good energy. It's the kind of thing that you can have on. It's the kind of thing you can have on in the background and just vibe to it. And I'm sure he's saying some very deep, very interesting things that I'll never know.
Yeah.
So that was great. Okay. Let me talk about this album that was just by far just garbage. Actually, no, I have one more album I want to talk about before I talk about that. Adrian Lenker, Bright Future. It was really the only real folk music I listened to. It's kind of folky. It was whimsical and sad and moody. And I wasn't in the place when I was listening to it at the time to enjoy it. Yeah. But I absolutely want to go back to it because it was by far the most moody, like just heartfelt, folky stuff, which I really like. But as I was listening, because I was trying to listen to these songs to I don't want to say critique them, but I was trying to listen to them honestly. That was bad for this album. This album wasn't a good album to listen to paying a lot of attention, right? Like it was more like, and it's unfair because Billie Eilish album I did listen to separated from, which is the way you're supposed to listen to it, I think. This album I also need to listen to it separated from, but I didn't know that because I didn't know anything about it. Like a Billie Eilish album, I'd listen to 3 of the songs because they're popular songs already.
Yeah.
So I knew how to listen to it, but this one I didn't. So that's another one I'm looking forward to going back to because it was just whimsical and I like music like that. Like it reminds me of almost reminds me of old school Fiona Apple. Except not as much funk to it. Like she had some funk to it, but that kind of energy.
Yeah.
It kind of felt like that, which was interesting and neat. And another reason that I wanted to do all 85 albums that were on that list.
Yeah.
Like when I started, that's what I wanted to do because I had such good experiences. And then I hit a few in a row and I was just like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
This will drain the will out of me.
We need to list all of these out too, because there's some that I listen to and some that you listen to that we didn't both listen to.
Yeah, we should post
and some of these
it.
sound very interesting.
Yeah, we'll post because I kept my list, so I'll just get your list together.
Yeah.
And we'll post it on the website, and then everybody can see what we've got. I'll post it on the Facebook page too.
Yeah.
So people can see it, which is great.
Yeah, and there's some that we haven't even mentioned because we listen to a lot of music.
There's so much. Like I had to be very focused on keeping track of it because I knew if I didn't, because it was just so much music, I wouldn't like even with these notes. Some of these I listened to weeks ago, and I needed to get back to them, and I didn't.
Yeah,
and I think it's really valid. I know I've mentioned it before because you mentioned it, but the trick with music is some of these albums were made that you couldn't just listen to it one time and get it.
Yeah,
like you just couldn't just scan through, listen to it, and go, okay, I spent an hour with that album. I understand.
Yeah.
Right. Which is the beauty of this whole thing. And look, we're never gonna get there, right? Because it's just so much music. Plus, I'm sure you did, because I did as well. We also sprinkled in the other music that we like and the music we're currently listening to. And then sometimes I'd forget, like, wait, is this an album from this year? Wait, no, is it? Does this count? No.
Yeah, there were a few times that I thought of an artist and I was like, oh yeah, they just had something and it was 2023 and I was like, well, I'm not listening to it, but now I will go back and listen.
I think it would be fun for us to go back.
Yeah.
And just kind of pick some, especially artists now that I've listened to on here that I like, that I'm like, I wonder what they did in the past, and just like find some previous albums, because I really thought this was fun. Like I really enjoyed this whole process.
Yeah, this was a good time. I enjoyed it.
And when we go back into previous years, we can tie this also to like the hits of the year and our other stuff. Our
episodes of different years, our series that we do.
We can just tie it all together, which would be super fun. Yeah. So we don't have that for this year though, because the year's not over. So we'll maybe come back around afterwards, and maybe even in another one of our episodes, just do an addendum and talk about, because I think it would be fun for us to really close the, when we get into next year, be like, hey, here's what happened in movies and here's what happened, here's how we wrap up the year, since we can do that now. But okay. The artist's name is Anycia, Anycia.
Oh, that is the one that you sent me.
Yeah.
And I forgot to ever go back and listen to it.
Yeah. The album is called Princess Pop That. I should have known. Okay. I should have known.
What a great title.
Look, I had a lot of hope. Okay. I'm going to go. What I want to do, actually, I'm going to have to edit this a little bit, because I want to actually take a minute and pull up what Rolling Stone said about this album, so that I can dispute it in real time.
Amazing. Well, I guess while you're doing that, something that I thought of when you were speaking earlier that I'll just bring up now. Yeah. You said something about kind of the headspace that you're in when you're listening to stuff and how things change, or you might have to re-listen to it. And there were so many times that I would be listening to something either just in the house or while I'm working or whatever. And it would be a completely different experience when I would like take the dogs for a walk and just be walking through the neighborhood, because I can actually focus and listen more.
Yeah.
But also kind of zone out at the same time. And so some of the songs would hit in a completely different way, and I could really start to appreciate them differently.
Right.
So it was nice, especially when there are albums that I wanted to re-listen to hear it from that different perspective before I've really learned the songs.
Right.
And see how they change and morph as you go.
Yeah. That's really what's cool about this whole thing, is like being able to see how music changes your perspective. They ranked this album 29th of the albums of the year. They ranked this album
so sidetracked.
They ranked this album 29th because when I was listening to it, they didn't have this in a numbered order. They had an alphabetical order. Mm-hmm. But now they've already done their 100 albums of the year. Yeah. So this album is ranked, and I'm like, this is in the top 50? This is in the top 30?
Well, the fact that it made the list at all, from the sounds of it, is astounding.
Okay, so here's what Rolling Stone says about this album. 26-year-old Atlanta rapper Sia has risen rapidly thanks to her vibrant personality and entrancing baritone. She follows through on her debut album, Princess Pop That, the kind of smooth listen that fits into a playlist of hustler braggadocio, except it's a woman on her boss shit. I hope you get out the car and then your phone cracks, she raps on Nene's Prayer. The album further entrenches her as one of the rap girlies who make music for the turn up as well as chill vibes. Okay, here's the thing. It's neat. It's not chill. Okay. It sounds like, all right, a lot. I'm just going to say this here. A lot of people that listen to this are our friends. Very few of our friends are going to understand firsthand what I'm about to say. Okay. Mm-hmm. But this sounds like
Fur water.
They won't understand that. It sounds
I really thought that's where you're going to go.
It annoys me at that level. It sounds like if your 12-year-old cousin had listened to rap on TikTok and decided to make an album.
Oh.
You understand? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It is so immature. Not only just immature not even just its language, because it's not the language. It's immature in its sound.
Is it like the Taylor Swift T-Pain collaboration?
I'm not familiar.
Okay, well, we will listen to that when this episode is done.
We'll have to listen to that one. There was a song that Katy Perry released that was like a girl power-y song that everybody just lambasted the hell out of.
Oh, yeah.
It's immature like that.
We didn't even talk about her album. I didn't listen to it.
I didn't either. It had no play. Like, nobody talked about it. Like, wasn't even on my radar. Yeah. Except for that one song that people seem to hate.
And it's not a terrible song. It's just very.
It's like the Kings of Leon. It's like it was made for a Gap commercial.
Yeah.
It was just made for,
made to be mid.
Yeah, it was made to be mid. Like, it was actively mid. Mm-hmm. Right? This album that is 29th in the album of the year, legitimately sounds like something like, okay, so I work at a factory, a manufacturing factory. Mm-hmm. And just like if you work in customer service, you can have a lot of unskilled labor, right? Because you can just teach them how to do the thing and then they can work their way up. And it's great. It's great to have a high-paying job of unskilled labor. Mm-hmm. The kind of random conversations I hear at lunchtime between some of the folks at that place, where it's just a little unhinged and it's like people that you wouldn't want to hang out all the time. This is a whole album of that.
Nice plug for our name, though.
This is that. This is that unhinged, but not in a good way. Because it's not even good enough to call unhinged. It's just bad. It's so bad. So I sent it to a group of my friends, all of them black. It's worth a note that I sent it to people that I know are listen to this kind of music fairly regularly and understand what that whole blurb that I wrote is supposed to mean, or that I read from Rolling Stone is supposed to mean. And they thought that I was pulling their leg. They're like, this is not on anyone's list, right? They're like, what are you talking about? And then that's when they're like, no, Rolling Stone is garbage. Like, they were mad about it because I was mad about it. I'm like, I have to find somebody that thinks it's good. And I don't think I will. Like, I don't understand who this was for because it's not as good as like Glorilla, or like, it's not on that level.
Yeah.
Like, Glorilla is made for a purpose. It has a reason. It at least either is social media or it has a body to it. Like Lizzo, it has a body to it.
There's some fun to it.
Yeah. This has got nothing. It's just braggy to be braggy, but it's not fun. It doesn't tell a story. It doesn't sound good. I hated it. It's very rare that I listen to something that makes me actively angry and mad that I listen to it, and then it has to be stuck in there forever. I'm mad that I listened to this. It was awful. You've got to listen to it.
Yeah, we're going to listen to some of this after we stop recording.
You got to listen to this because...
And for the listeners, you should see how upset he is right now. Like,
I'm gripping my phone.
Like,
I'm so mad.
Other hand is just a fist,
so
angry,
bad.
shaking.
Oh my God.
Waking up the poor dog behind him.
I know. I'm sorry, everyone. It was really bad. And I waited until this episode. I'm gonna wait until this episode goes out before I make everybody else listen to it. But after this episode goes out, I want to make everybody I know listen to this thing because I need more validation. Even though I got enough validation, and when you listen to it, well, I shouldn't say that because the worst thing that's going to happen to me in my life is you listen to this and you go, "That's not that bad." That would legitimately be the worst thing that could happen.
What if I love it?
Oh my God. I honestly don't know what I would do if you listen to this and you're like, this is pretty good. I get it.
You would lose a lot of respect for me.
No.
But I do
I would lose a lot of respect for me.
That's probably true. How was I friends with this bitch? But I do listen to hip hop on a semi-regular basis.
Absolutely.
So if I actually like this, I will be shocked by it.
Yeah, like I can't oversell. Like that's what I'm thinking. Is I'm like, am I overselling it? And I know that I'm not overselling it in that at least the people that I knew would think it was bad thought it was as bad as I thought it was.
Yeah,
at least. And obviously, it's 29th on this fucking list. Someone likes it.
Yeah.
Whether because they actually like it or because they think they need to.
Well, I'm convinced that most of the things on any of those lists, there's somebody who just wants to be pretentious for the sake of it and say like, oh, you just don't understand the depth. You don't understand the amazing quality of this and it's ahead of its time and you'll understand in 20 years. And like, no, half the time that's bullshit.
Yeah. Well, in this case, I feel like this is like I'm not unappreciative of this, but even for this, it's like, oh, it's from the streets and we're embracing the culture and look at us, this is a black female rapper doing something new that we're embracing and is coming up and great, fine. It's garbage.
Yeah.
It's garbage. We have to end the episode here. Because I can't continue. I'm glad it's the last thing we did. Yeah. I was focused enough to do that because if I'd have started talking about it early, we'd be done.
Yeah, you would have been fired up for a while.
Oh my God. Anyway, this was really fun. It was a good suggestion by you. After this release, again, I'm going to be pestering everybody because I'd like to see everybody else's year music and any albums that we didn't touch on that came out that people like. 2 of those country albums were suggestions. They were just like, I was telling somebody about this and they're like, oh, these are albums you should listen to. Yeah. And like, awesome. I love that. I love when people are like, oh, these albums are, especially when it's album level. Because like if it's a song, it's like cool. It's easy to listen to a song, but it's a commitment to have somebody say, hey, listen to an album and you do it. All right. Anything you want to say to close us out?
Go listen to music, everyone.
Yeah, go listen to music, everyone. All right. Thanks, Bye.
Bye.